Hi, everyone. Heather Williams with the California AfterSchool Network, and we are here for another Fireside Chat. 50 something, I'm not sure the exact number, but we are in the 50s. And as usual, joined by Michael Funk from the California Department of Education Expanded Learning Division. And our special guests today, we've got Suzanne, Valerie, and one of their great partners, Rod. And so we'll be talking a little bit more about the work in their districts and the work they are doing with their partner this week, Michael. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Heather, and thanks again for hosting, and thank you, guests, for joining. Looking forward to our conversation. Rod is an old friend and acquaintance going way back before I came to the Department of Education, and his organization called InPlay is an expression of something that Rod's had a passion about as long as I've known him, which is that children in our communities need access to high quality summer experiences and expanded learning. And a lot of families have difficulty finding them, trying to sort out what's in front of them. And so as a result, helping parents, busy parents, working parents, low-income parents, parents with less technology than others, helping parents find the right place to support their child so the children get what they deserve has been Ron's passion. And it's really been great to see how this has developed, Rod. And so thank you for coming on here and sharing your story with some of your partners. Welcome.
Thank you, Michael. I want to thank both you and also Heather for giving us this opportunity. And I'd like to introduce Valerie Martinez from Fresno Unified and Suzanne Dudney from Madera Unified, who have been partnering with us. I'll let you, the two of you, Valerie and Suzanne, introduce yourselves first. You want to go first, Valerie?
Sure. Hi, I'm Valerie Martinez. I'm a principal on special assignment, working in the College and Career Readiness Department at Fresno Unified. Former teacher, principal, and then was asked to come and help design the ELOP work here in our office. And it's been one of the joys of my career. And I'm just thrilled to be partnering with Rod and InPlay and to have partners nearby in Suzanne and Madera Unified. And so I'm just thrilled to be here with you. And I hope that today we can share some things that will help other districts better serve their students as well.
Hello, I'm Suzanne Dudney, and I work for Madera Unified. And last summer, I was hired as the Expanded Learning Program Coordinator for Madera Unified, which is a brand new position. So I'm literally building the plane as we're flying it. But before that, I was also a teacher. I've been a district academic coach, and most recently was a vice principal at an elementary school site. So I was really excited about this opportunity when I heard about the ELOP and all of that. I was really excited to take on this position, and it's been a whirlwind, and as I'm sure many of you can relate to that. And it is nice to be partnered. Our county is right next to Fresno, so we're fairly close and share some of the same resources. And it was actually Valerie that recommended that we talk to Rod at InPlay when we were looking for some solutions for registration for our ELOP programs. So, and that's been a really great partnership this past year.
Michael, should I share a little bit about why I started InPlay and why we built this service to help school districts?
Yeah, please do, Rod.
Okay. Well, I'm a first generation Chinese American. And growing up, I was actually a latchkey kid. My parents didn't have that much money, but they still scraped together enough money to send my brother and me to neighborhood art centers and for summer camp. And it was wonderful. I loved doing the art and exposed my brother and me to a lot of exciting opportunities where we could learn and grow. Because of my work in art, I actually thought I'd be a documentary filmmaker. But life has led me to this other path. Well, so I was one of those kids. And that's why I'm committed to helping newcomers and underserved kids. So as Michael mentioned, I've been on this journey for several years. 9 years ago, I co-founded InPlay as a nonprofit with the mission of trying to give underserved kids these amazing opportunities where they could discover their unique interests and talents. We started off by building an online activity guide, and then we added a scholarship matching service to help the lower income kids. But we never knew which kids actually signed up until one day I was presenting at a National Summer Learning Association conference. And the head of summer learning from Seattle Public Schools came up to me. And he said, "Hey, Rod, you know, that activity guide looks pretty cool. This text-based scholarship matching service is really intriguing. I have a slightly different problem I'm wondering if you could help me with." So I said, "Sure, I'd love to hear about it." So he shared, "Okay, look, I run the summer learning program, and we have about 2,400 spots. And each summer when I open up registration, all these more resource families immediately rush in and grab all the spots. And they just, you know, our capacity is already filled. And the underserved kids who I most want to get those spots, they miss out. So Rod, if I were to give you a list of the priority students in Seattle Public Schools, and I give you their mobile numbers, could you actually text them first, give them priority early registration, and they can read about my program, and if they want to sign up, could they possibly fill it out online using a mobile device?" And I said, "Well, if you're willing to give me the mobile the mobile number of the parent or the primary caregiver, you ought to be willing to give me all the other data too, so we could pre-fill the registration form for families." So that's what we did. We ran a successful demonstration pilot up in Seattle. Then Oakland Unified was really the first district in California that used it full bore for their entire summer program. That was 3 years ago. We're currently running it for a third year. But then I also met Valerie and Suzanne, and we actually expanded it so that parents can browse and choose among a whole variety of community-based organizations that are providing programs in their cities. So perhaps Valerie and Suzanne, if you could share what it was like before you used our integrated communication and registration system. It'd be great for others to hear.
Well, I can start if you like. So before we started using InPlay, my head looked like Michael's because I was tearing my hair out, as was our entire team. The way we handled registration initially was we had an online registration system on our district website, on our extended learning page, and in which parents could view all of the winter, at the time it was winter camp, all of the winter camp opportunities for kids, and then sign their children up. However, because it was open access to the public, what we discovered was that we were getting parents who were registering students who were not enrolled in our district. So parents were required to fill out really what would account to pages of information: child's name, student ID number, their name, their contact info, emergency information, home address, school of enrollment, et cetera, et cetera. And so the amount of cleanup that our team had to do by hand was daunting. I mean, it took them really weeks to clean up the data, to verify, to run reports of all registrations with ID numbers that were incorrect or missing, et cetera. And what we found is that it tended to be students from more affluent homes who were enrolling in the camps. rather than the students for whom the ELOP money was designed. And so it was very, very cumbersome. So when I was introduced to Rod, I said, oh my gosh, this is exactly what we're looking for, because we can bypass a lot of the red tape, right? And a lot of sort of the clunkiness of registration systems. We have 70,000 students in Fresno Unified. We can't do 70,000 paper applications, right? So how do we give parents access? So the idea of being able to reach parents right directly to their cell phone via text messages with a student-specific registration link was just music to my ears. And as you can see, all my hair's grown back. So what was fantastic was we did a campaign with our families and our school sites to ensure that families and school staff were aware that, hey, check our student information system. Make sure all of this year's emergency card information has been updated in our student information system. Parents, please check your children's accounts so that you ensure that your primary phone number is the number that you want to be receiving these summer camp and winter camp registration text messages. And so it's really been fantastic, because after we went with InPlay, it was only Fresno Unified students who had access to these opportunities. And the way it was structured, we were able to ensure that it was our students who traditionally have been underserved who were able to receive access to those programs. We were able to provide assistance to parents who had struggles enrolling their children for one reason or another. They were able to see the messages in English and Spanish and Hmong, but still people had questions. And so what was wonderful is using InPlay freed up our team here and our staff at school sites to be able to get direct support to those parents, rather than having to spend countless hours really doing cleanup because of the registration system that we used beforehand. So I can tell you the feedback we've gotten from our parents has been overwhelmingly grateful. The same thing with our community partners. Right now we're working with over 70 community partners. We're going to have, I want to say 68 summer camps this year, thanks in part to our being freed up to develop partnerships with community organizations, because we're not in this mess with registration, right? And so our partners were thrilled to be able to get an accurate student list. And they also received training if they needed to be able to assist with filling spots that were still open. They could assist with the InPlay registration system as well. So not only have we been able to expand the number of camps that we're offering, but we've been able to expand the number of students that we serve, really getting the information in the hands of those students. And part of what we're doing this year too is we're looking to partner with some community organizations on the marketing and promotional piece of it, also just to be able to reach more and more parents. So that's our story. And Michael and Heather, I'm a first-gen US citizen like Rod, a Central American family. And I just remember growing up and I thought that my friends were all smarter than I was, because they seemed to know all these things that I didn't know. And even though I would score really high on all of these standardized tests, I just thought there was an error, because I just didn't have all of this knowledge that they had. And what I didn't know that I know now is that my parents and I, just because this was the first time, right, that they'd had exposure to a US public educational system or private educational system as well, that they just didn't know what all the unspoken rules were, right, of the US educational system. And so what I love about this with InPlay is we kind of bypass all of that. There's nothing hidden, right? The information is out there. We've cut out all of the middlemen, so to speak, and the information is going literally right to their hands, to their cell phone. And so for me, that's really important as well. You know, just to address what Rod, you spoke about, wanting to give our kids access to what I love to call a wonderfully ridiculous amount of opportunities that are going to enrich their lives and provide background experiences for them, and experiences that will shape really their future. And so anyway, I'm excited to be a partner in this. And as I said, to work with other districts like Suzanne's and to learn from them and to see how they're using InPlay and how they've expanded their opportunities to kids as well.
Hey, Suzanne, before you jump in, thank you for, Valerie, just the examples of the sheer amount of things that you're providing, but also why. I mean, that's part of what is so encouraging to me is that's the vision of ELOP. That's the vision of the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, is to provide a ridiculous number of opportunities for kids who normally wouldn't have them. And Ron, I have a quick question for you before we jump to Suzanne.
Sure.
If I use InPlay, will I have hair?
Yeah, I guarantee it, Michael. Yep, we got to bring it to Sacramento.
Sign me up. Suzanne, take it away.
Well, thank you very much. It was really exciting for Madera. So Madera is, we are neighboring counties with Fresno. So we're just across the river from Fresno. And our population of students is just over 20,000 in our district. And of those students, over 90% are unduplicated. So, and over 90% are socioeconomically disadvantaged, sorry. And then we also have little over 30% are English learners. So our district, really, our whole district is considered unduplicated. And one of the things that we strive to do is provide our students also with a ridiculous number of offerings. But in Madera is a pretty small community as well. But so they don't have quite as many partners that we can offer. However, we can draw from the Fresno area, which makes it nice because it's just a pretty short bus ride to wherever we need to go there. So, so when the ELOP came out last year, it was really exciting for our district because before that, we hadn't done a lot as far as offering summer programs outside of summer school. We were offering summer school and our after school program during summer, but we weren't offering a whole lot of other options. And so this was really exciting. And last year when this all came about, the departments in our educational services team really came together and just started offering lots of camps because it was that whole, let's just get in there and try it. And we had a whole lot of camps, just a number of different offerings, athletics and art, and it was really great. The really not so great part was the registration system, because we did also try to pull that together, because before this year, even for summer school, the school sites would do the registration themselves, and they would just take almost like registering for school. So they were doing paper pencil, and then somebody at the school site would enter them into our ARIES system. So last year, our IT department, they worked really hard with the amount of time they had to try and put together a registration system. And we put in all these numerous offerings we had, and it was just really a hot mess. People were not getting enrolled. Families would enroll, they had 3 kids, they tried to enroll them all and only one would get enrolled. And they'd show up at these camps and we wouldn't have, we couldn't even print out decent lists. It was just kind of, okay, well, just come on in. So, and then we also experienced what Fresno did as well is we had people from some of the local charter schools show up. We had people from outside of our area, some of the private schools that came and enrolled in our programs. And so we also needed a way to enroll our students and make sure they were our students. And so at the beginning of, I believe it was August or September, we had a meeting with Fresno and they mentioned they were looking into using InPlay. And that's when I reached out to Rod and contacted him. And kind of like Valerie said, when I heard that they could send a text message to our parents with a specific link so that they could look and see what their child was offered, and they could also use the information from Aries to pre-fill the applications. I thought this was really great. Our district really has done a phenomenal job, especially since the pandemic, of making sure that our data in Aries is really up to date. And so we have a really high rate of correct phone numbers, and I don't remember the exact percentage that it was, but it's over 85%, I believe, that we can send out messages via text and
Actually,
contact them.
Suzanne, I'll interject. You
Okay.
only had 2% of the numbers that you gave us bounce.
Okay.
So it is phenomenally high in Madera.
No. So we have about 98%. So basically we can
Yes.
contact our families. Not all of them are comfortable using their cell phones or using, digital enrollment, but since the pandemic, we started using Parent Square and those type of things. They're really getting used to it and they're getting a lot more comfortable with it. And our school sites are really great at helping them. We also have a really great parent resource center, a network set up, and so they can contact them for help with any of those. But the really great thing too is we were able to prioritize our students. But with our district, because we have over 90% that are unduplicated, we found out during winter we offered camps to TK through 8th grade, and of the over 12,000 students we initially offered to, I think only 800 or less than 800 were not in that first tier. So we're able to, I think what we're going to do this year is just go ahead and offer it to all of our students, and because almost, over 90% are our priority kids and the kids we want to reach. And one of the really great things is that we've been partnering with some of our local community members to provide, different camps. And our students really cost is very prohibitive to a lot of them. So even if it's like a $10 fee, that would be prohibitive to a lot of our families. And so to be able to offer them these fantastic programs at no cost has been really great. And that's one of the things that we all really liked about Rod and his story, and the history behind InPlay was that they're looking to target these students that wouldn't normally get to take advantage of these. And then our feedback from our surveys from winter were just phenomenal, and they really enjoyed, we did a smaller scale, but they really enjoyed the camps that we provided and the structure we provided. So working with InPlay just made a huge difference, because now we were able to actually have a list of kids that were enrolled, and we knew who was enrolled, and could track that and make rosters. And it's just been really, it's been really a good partnership working with them to reach our families.
Again, another educational leader who's doing the right things with the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program funding, the apportionment, doing the right things for kids. And I can't, when you describe all those camps, Suzanne, and you said you did that in the first summer of the ELOP funding. Thank you and congratulations, because that's what our kids deserve.
Yeah.
And we've still got, not trying to shame anybody, I'm not going to name any names, but we've still got districts who have not spent a dime.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, that's not what our kids need. So Heather, I know we're about the end of our time. We've heard such a complete description of the work from these two district leaders, but maybe you can put a bookend on this.
Yeah. So it's great to hear about all of this. And, we spend a lot of time in office hours, and there's a lot of questions of how do we enroll people? How do, right? It's a very real concern. And, you know, as you both were saying, like that takes up so much time from your staff that you weren't able to like really dig into the more programmatic side of it. And so now that you found this solution, you all get to really focus on like building out these opportunities for students, right? And so we're coming up on summer, and I know folks could, you know, maybe if they haven't spent any of their funding yet, or maybe just a little bit, maybe they need some great ideas for how they could spend some of their funding this summer. So maybe to close us out, before we jumped in, it sounded like you both were starting to share some really exciting things that you're working on this summer. And so it'd be great to hear a little bit. You know, obviously it sounds like camps are part of that, but what's something that you're really proud of that you'll be offering your students this summer?
Yeah, just one or two things we need to book into.
So I'll share one thing. I did want to share, this is, oh, you can't see it because I'm blurred, but we have a, I don't know how many page, 36-page summer catalog with all of our camps in it, which is really fun. But one of the most exciting things for me is 2 years ago, when we were coming out of COVID, we were not able to offer any swim lessons at all. Last summer, we were able to offer 1,700 no-cost swim lessons to kids. And this year, because as I said, we're able to devote our time and attention to other really important things, because InPlay is handling the registration piece, we're going to be offering over 8,500 free swim lessons to kids, thanks to the ELOP funding, with partners like the City of Fresno, Fresno State, Break the Barriers, High Performance Academy. And we have so many of our kids drowning in our rivers, right, in the summer. And it's the kids whose parents can't afford the swim lessons. And so I'm just so excited about that. Along with kids are becoming pilots and learning to scuba dive and make piñatas and do hip hop and play musical instruments and be part of a banda and all of that. So it's really exciting, very gratifying.
And yeah,
Well, and actually, we also have been offering the swim lessons. We kind of took over the Red Cross swim lessons from our city because it wasn't, as Valerie said, it's cost prohibitive. And for our students, that's a huge piece. A lot of our kids don't know how to swim. And so we're also offering the swim lessons, and they're like every 30 minutes. I don't remember how many I was in, but they're like every 30 minutes for 6 or 7 weeks. I don't know. It's a lot. And then the other thing that I've been really excited about is just some of the community partners we've worked with. And I know like the San Joaquin River has always been a good partner for us. They do an ambassador program with our high school students, and they've actually had them come out and help work with our kids at camp. But that's been really exciting too, is for our students to be able to go out to the San Joaquin River, you know, here locally, and do some of those day camps out there. They've been really having a great time. And then the other thing is our sports. Our high school athletics has really been embracing this and working with our youngest kids to try and work on those skills, even at the earliest age, TK, kinder, they're learning about football and different things, so that as they progress to the grade levels, they have a little more skills by the time they get to them. So that's been really exciting, is to work the high school coaches working with our youngest students. So it's been really fun to provide those opportunities.
I'll just bookend this. I want to thank Valerie and Suzanne. You two are terrific. Thank you so much for your commitment to equity and your commitment to partnering, not just with InPlay, but with the dozens and dozens of community-based program providers in your community. And for any other districts that are losing their hair and want to get out of this craziness every spring, and want to build a stronger community partnership with less work and happier parents, InPlay is here to help. And I'd be happy to share some slides to Heather afterwards. So thank you for this opportunity, Michael and Heather.
Well, thank you all. And Michael, I'll turn it over to you for any last words before we close out.
You know, I've been thinking the Best of Out of School Time conference Boost is coming up here in a few weeks, and Heather and I will be hosting this town hall, the State of Expanded Learning in California. And was doing some work on it just this afternoon, the keynote, and Heather and I met for several hours. And one of the things that we're nudging towards, we've had this powerful, strong theme for a long time, now several years, with leading with love.
Mm.
And what it means to unpack that. I mean, love as an action of equity, of what you've done is provided the way for students to get something that they weren't getting before, and that's leading with love. But it's also leading with courage, and it's bold leadership. And I want to commend you, all three of you, for being bold leaders that are leading with love. And hundreds and thousands of children are experiencing something they wouldn't have because of you three. So thank you, and thank you for showing up on our Fireside Chat. And Heather, we'll look forward to the next one. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.